Hello everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 16. I will not be doing a full episode recap as there are plenty of other content creators who do a great job covering the show. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. Okay, excuse me, I am a little bit under the weather. I've been under the weather for the past several days, so I'm going to try to get through this as best as I can. So in this episode, we saw Kimmie and Maurice discuss their sex life. And Kimmie has been saying that the chemotherapy treatments and the cancer radiation treatments has had an effect on her sexual libido, and she's trying to do things to get back in the mood to have sex with her husband. But Maurice seems to be getting impatient with the process. He's asking, how long? Why is this happening? When is it going to get better? So on and so forth. And so before I discuss how I feel about that, one of the things that I don't like about men is their sexual libido. It's one of the things that irritates the F out of me when it comes to these dudes. And it's because these men will literally have sex with anything, thing, and everything. And they don't even care about who or what they're having sex with. Some of these men will destroy their lives. And I mentioned this before. They'll destroy their lives just to have an orgasm. I cannot respect a group of people, species, gender, whatever, who is led by and controlled by their penis. I would be crazy to submit to a man who is a slave to his penis. Like, some of these men, their whole lives revolve around sex. And I met this guy years ago, a freaking idiot. He was married, and I asked him, have you ever cheated on your wife before? He said yes. And I said, why? He said, because she didn't have sex with me. I said, how long did she not have sex with you before you cheated? He said 1 week. I said, a week? What do you mean a week? He said, well, when men don't have sex, their body starts to hurt. They're in pain. I said, what? You're lying. That's not true. What kind of excuse is that? But then I did some more research, and apparently it is true that some men, when they don't have sex and they don't have another outlet, for their penis, I guess, to do their work, it can become painful for them to the point where, like, they're obsessed with just getting their rocks off with whoever or whatever is around them. Other men, other women, prostitutes, children, animals, objects. Like, the thing that I least respect about men is their sexuality, their virility, their hypersexuality, their need to constantly put their penis in something for them to function. It is irritating as hell to me. And maybe I'm being immature, but I understand biology. I understand that men have this biological need to reproduce and keep the planet populated, whatever the case may be. But I just cannot respect somebody who does not have control over their sexual organs. They need to have sex. It's like they don't die without it. How am I supposed to respect you if that's your reality? How am I supposed to respect you if I'm sitting next to you in the car after a date, right? Or at the end of our date, and your meat is getting hard because you expect something to happen, and I don't even like you. I don't even give you any hints something's going to happen. Why? And I'm not asking why because I don't know. I'm asking why because it's irritating. That's all. But anyway, so Kimmie, she's recovering from chemotherapy, radiation, the stress and anxiety and the trauma of her cancer diagnosis. While she's taking care of her husband's child, she's helping to raise Maurice Jr., her stepchild. She's still cooking, she's still cleaning, she's still helping to take care of the household. She's more of a parent to Maurice Jr. than Maurice is. And Maurice is concerned about getting his meat wet. So this scene reminded me of a conversation that Cedric had with Martell in season 2 when they went camping. And Cedric asked Martell, was Melody physically capable of having sex with you? And Martell said yes. And I said in my mind, like, what the hell does that mean? Just because a woman is physically there and she's not on her cycle and she's not having a baby, it does not mean that she's available for sex. For a lot of men, if a woman is physically there and she's not like dead or severely sick or infirmed, then that means that she's available for sex. She's available to be used as an object, right? Because he doesn't care about how she feels. He doesn't care about what she's thinking, obviously. He only cares if that she's available. She's there physically, like an object, like a sex toy, okay? So when Maurice was kind of getting patient and being insensitive towards Kimmie, who should not be worrying about this at all. This should be the last thing on her mind. Although I do agree that it's a good idea to communicate about these types of issues in a relationship and keep the lines of communication open. I think that's healthy. I think Maurice should have been more reassuring to her that no matter how long it takes, okay, I'm going to wait for you to get better. Even if it takes a year or two and we're not having sex as frequently. I think Maurice was like, they're getting it twice a month, something like that, which is normal for most couples. Kimmie is older. I think she's in her 50s. She may be menopausal even. Lots of hormonal changes, right? She may also be feeling emotionally insecure and anxious because of her lack of interest in sex now with Maurice. And so it's like, okay, if I don't get it together, he's going to leave me for somebody else. That should not be a concern for her, especially since she's doing Maurice a huge favor by being a stepmother to his child, which is the only reason why he married her in the first place, in my opinion. I said before that I believe Maurice only married Kimmie because she was going to help him level up. She was going to help him watch his son and, maybe help with the finances and so on and so forth. So she was a good bargain for him, a good deal for him. And as soon as she needs him for more than a year or two, right? As soon as she needs him for real, not just for penis and conversation, but she needs him to be patient and compassionate and understanding throughout this process. I'm not saying that Maurice hasn't been there with her from the beginning. I didn't say that at all. But it's not over yet. This is a long journey for both of them. And she should not be concerned about him cheating. That should not even be crossing her mind. No matter how weak and sick and tired I am, I'm going to let this man crawl on top of me and use me as a sex object. And then I'm still going to have to take care of his son by myself. I'm still going to have to cook and clean by myself, but all his needs are met. I have to be 100% of everything he wants, right? Cooking, cleaning, financial support, emotional support, nurturing his child. I have to be 100% of everything he wants to get 20% of what I need from him. Maurice only having sex with Kimmie twice a month or 3 times a month, whatever. It's not some huge sacrifice. Use that pent up sexual frustration to wash some damn dishes and do some laundry. How about that? But again, I'm not surprised about this situation. I mentioned this before. This is not something that is unexpected. A lot of men leave their wives when they become sick. I honestly believe that if Maurice didn't need Kimmie to raise his son, he would have dipped out already. Or he would have been on his way to dipping out. Maurice still needs Kimmie for at least 4 to 5 years because he's still raising his child or helping to raise his child. So yeah, I feel bad for Kimmie. But at the same time, she's going to stay with him because she needs to be married, like many women her age. In season 1, she was tired of being alone. She raised her son by herself. She wants a life companion. Well, this is what happens when you have life companions. Not all the time. There's some men who are awesome when their wives get sick. But most times, and there are studies proving this, when a woman gets sick, the man gets bored, tired, frustrated, irritated, impatient, and he's ready to dip within a few months or years, right? And so, this is what happens when women put marriage on a pedestal, when they put men on a pedestal. A lot of these men only see women, especially older women, as utility. That's it. And as soon as she becomes useless to him or not as useful to him as she was before, he's going to, be looking elsewhere. I'm not saying that Maurice is doing that now, but the conversation he had with Kimmie was inappropriate and insensitive. And she should not have to worry about Maurice leaving her because she's sick, just like Maurice does not have to worry about Kimmie taking care of his son when he's too busy. Maurice needs to play his position as a supportive husband, however long it takes for Kimmie to recover from this illness. Okay? Because again, she went through a lot. And I'm not saying he wasn't there for her, but it's not over yet. Now on to Martell. Oh my God. So Martell has been renting a house, and apparently 8 months ago, at the time of this taping, Chris told Martell that the house was going up for sale. Okay? And I think they're in Huntsville still. I think Martell is renting a home in Huntsville. So the home's been on the market for 8 months. 8 months Martell had to find another home for him and the 4 children that he shares with Melody. The same 4 children who he's been trying to get custody over for the past year. Okay? So Martell has been going back and forth to court with Melody over custody issues. But apparently he has no place for the kids to stay. And now he's asking Chris to jeopardize his professional reputation by not honoring the fiduciary responsibility he has to his clients. So Martell doesn't pay alimony or child support to Melody. This show is in season 6. I'm sure he's not broke, okay? I know he filed for bankruptcy a couple years ago, but he's living in Huntsville. He's not living in Miami. He's not living in New York, okay? Not living in Texas or Los Angeles. He's living in Huntsville, Alabama. You can find a place in 8 months. Martell is a user and he's a manipulator. He wants to use Chris the same way he used Melody, the same way he used Ariane even. Martell is so obsessed with Melody and what she's doing, and they've been divorced for 2 years now. He's still so obsessed with her that he's going to jeopardize his children's foundation. Do you guys remember in seasons 1 and 2 and even 3 where Martell said he was the primary breadwinner? He was the primary breadwinner. He was the reason why their companies were so successful. Melody was just there in name only, right? And he was the dominant parent, which meant that he was the one handling most of the responsibilities in the household, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids or whatever. Here we are 2 years later. Melody and him have 50-50 custody. So Martell doesn't even have the kids 100% of the time. So he has 2 weeks a month, because I think they have 1 week on, 1 week off. He has 2 weeks a month to make sure that when his kids are in his care, they have a safe and secure place to live. Martell wants other people to bend the rules for him. He doesn't think the rules apply to him, right? The rules of relationships, the rules of business, they don't apply to him. So Melody had to manage and maintain their businesses and their marriage because Martell has a mentality of a hustler, somebody who gets by day to day. And there's nothing wrong with having a hustle, but a hustle mindset is not good for business because business requires some level of long-term planning, being responsible, being industrious, having a plan for the future, being proactive and adaptive to situations and circumstances beyond your control, having a business plan, right? When you're a hustler, you let the market establish your value. You don't create value for the market. Hustlers like Martell, they don't know how to do a lot of the administrative work when it comes to running a business. They don't like, dealing with contracts and paperwork and payroll and insurance. Melody was doing all that stuff. Martell may have had good ideas, but Melody, she made them work. She made them a reality, right? It's one thing to have an idea, and it's another thing to implement it and to watch it grow, to water the seed so that it becomes a garden and then a forest, right? Versus let's do a little hustle here and there, let's get a couple dollars, and there's no sustainable business model because now you have competition from people doing the same thing you're doing, like the drug dealers on the corner, and there's no long-term business plan. So that's the kind of mentality Martell has, the 2-bit street hustler. And so now he expects Chris to jeopardize his bag, his relationship with his clients, for the sake of his friendship. And it was a low blow for Martell to say, is it about the money or our friendship? So essentially, Martell told Chris, if you don't let me take advantage of you, it's because you're money hungry. You're greedy. You don't care about my family, right? If you don't let me use you and manipulate you for my own benefit, even though I had adequate time to move, I had 8 months to get a place in Huntsville, not in Atlanta, not in Miami, not in New York, not in Los Angeles, not in Dallas. Huntsville, where you can rent a 4-bedroom house for $2,000 a month. If Martell is being responsible with his money, he should not be broke. And we're now 3 years out from the time that Martell and Melody filed for bankruptcy. Okay? So Martell is in a better position to get a place for him and his children within 8 months. And a decent 4-bedroom house in Huntsville with a pool and a backyard and everything else is not going to cost no more than $3,000 a month. Where is Martell's money going that he can't find a place in 8 months? He's very irresponsible, and he's proving why he should not have full custody of their 4 children. Imagine if the courts granted Martell full custody of those kids and Martell's in a situation with the children about to be homeless in 2 weeks if he doesn't find a place. If you can't find a place in 8 months, you damn sure can't find a place in 2 weeks. And then this idiot is going to blame Chris for him not being able to find a place. Like, Well, if you couldn't find a place, why would you expect me to be able to find one? It is Martell's responsibility to find a place for his children, not Chris. I don't care if Chris is the real estate agent. Chris is not the father of Martell's 4 children, period. So if Martell loses his home, Chris will still be fine. And I bet you, if Martell has to move, he's going to blame Chris for it. He's going to say, Chris didn't give me enough time. Chris kicked me out. Chris was not being fair. He's going to blame Chris for his immaturity and his irresponsibility. You got time to subpoena people to court for nonsense, but you don't have time to take care of your primary business, which is giving your children a place to live. Martell's a freaking idiot. How are you going to cheat on somebody and ruin your marriage and you're this damn dumb? Melody was really the brains and the bronze of the marriage. How are you this stupid and irresponsible and then you ruin your marriage? Well, that makes sense. Someone who's dumb is going to ruin a good thing. A person who's dumb, irresponsible, immature, and entitled is going to ruin all of his blessings. And again, I believe that Martell thinks that the rules of life don't apply to him. He thinks that if he cheats on his wife, he's supposed to be forgiven. He thinks that if he has a baby with his mistress, he's supposed to get full custody of his children. He thinks that after he destroyed his marriage and his family, he should get full custody of the kids. He thinks that if he doesn't have his builder's license, he should still be able to call the shots in the company and call himself the primary breadwinner when it's not true. He thinks that if he puts out a sex tape of his wife, he should not be held accountable for that. Martell has the mentality of a criminal. Like, I am above the law. The rules don't apply to me. Only what I want matters. I should not have to suffer the consequences of my actions. He is mentally disturbed. There's no way in hell that you're going to blame Chris for you not finding a home to rent in Alabama in 8 months, as if it's going to be his fault if your children are homeless. Now, they won't be homeless. Melody's going to take care of them. I'm sure if Martell loses his place, the kids will stay with Melody full time. And the irony is Martell's dumbass will still go to court asking for full custody while they're staying with Melody because he has no place to stay. A freaking idiot. And Melody's going to have to do him his favor. If he doesn't find a place in 2 weeks, Melody will have to do him a favor and have the children stay with her full time while they have joint custody. I hope to God he finds his own place or he moves the kids in with his mother. Because if Melody takes the kids full time, Martell's the kind of person that will use that as an excuse to violate Melody's personal boundaries. I remember in season 2 when Martell made the suggestion that they all stay in the home together, but instead of splitting up custody, they'll leave 1 week at a time. So Martell would leave for a week and then Melody would leave for a week and they could all stay in the house together. Melody was like, no, I'm not doing that because you're going to disrespect my boundaries. You're going to still try to control me. You're going to act as if we're still married. And lo and behold, 2.5 years later, she was correct. Everything that Melody predicted during the divorce happened. So even though it would be a good thing to do, I would not want Melody to let the kids stay at our house unless she can get temporary full custody of those kids. Because if she still has joint custody while Martell doesn't have a place to stay besides his mother's house, that's going to be a disaster in my opinion. Martell is too immature and too stupid and too selfish to respect the divorce decree. He's going to try to make it seem as if they're one big happy family again, and he manifested this. I wouldn't be surprised if Martell sabotaged the situation and he's trying to force Melody to, to take full custody of the kids temporarily so that he can cosplay a good husband and father of the year again. I hope that's not the case. If Melody lets the kids come back to her house full time, that's her prerogative. I wouldn't say that she's wrong for doing that. It's just that with Martell, I don't think it'd be a good idea because he doesn't respect boundaries and he doesn't think the rules apply to him. He thinks that he can do whatever he wants to do and then other people have to bail him out. Martell wanted Melody to bail him out of the consequences of his infidelity. And that's one of the real reasons why he's still bitter about their divorce, because he felt like she was supposed to take care of him. She was supposed to save him from himself. And this time she didn't do that. Martell was used to Melody bailing him out. She was used to Melody taking care of things when he couldn't do it. I'm not saying that's not the way it's supposed to be in a marriage, but Martell is very irresponsible and immature. And then so Melody had to become super duper woman to save Martell from his own ineptitude. Then he resented her for that too. So she couldn't win for losing. She couldn't win for losing. Because if she had allowed herself to be led by Martell, she'd be where he is now, asking Chris for a 2-week extension on a month-to-month lease. This could have been handled 6 months ago. Could have been handled 4 months ago. Again, they're in Alabama. I'm not saying that Huntsville isn't some poppin' city. There are some wealthy enclaves out there, but the housing market out there is not as competitive as it is in other major cities. He could have been found a place a long time ago, but he's taking advantage. If I was Chris, I wouldn't even consider Martell a friend. I don't even know how Martell's anybody's friend. People like being around him, they like his personality, but at his core, he's a rotten person. How are you going to make it seem as if your friend is a money grubber who doesn't care about children? So you're going to kick us out because it's about the money? That is so messed up for Martell to do. But on another note, I'm happy that Chris has a confessional. Hopefully he can become a member of the cast. I actually like him and Nell for the cast. They're mature, they're older, they know everybody, they're successful. I like them on this show. So hopefully we can see more of them. And hopefully Martell won't ruin that relationship too. Now on to, what's his name? Marceau, and this bootleg Black Expo that they put together. I knew it was going to be some nonsense and not ghetto-ness, but yeah, you know, not having your stuff put together, not having everything in order. Marceau asked, what's her name, Stormy, for $100 for a booth for the expo. Whatever, she got offended by it, the way he asked her, I guess. And this is why they wanted Melody to help them with the comeback group and this little event they were throwing, because it's a bunch of, not idiots, but I don't even want to get into it too much. It was too bootleg. Now on to Kiki. I'm not going to get into that either. That situation's not funny. I'm laughing because I'm just dismissing that whole scene. I hope she hasn't fallen off the wagon. I hope that she's getting help if she needs to get help. And I really hope that she's not involving her children in any criminal activity. That's all I care about. And do what you gotta do. If you need to get high, you need to drink, do whatever. But keep the kids out of it, please. I'm not saying that she's been convicted of anything or whatever. But regardless, this goes for anybody. If you have issues with drinking and smoking and alcohol and other addictions, please keep that away from your children as much as possible. I mean, if you want to ruin your own life, do all that, but don't bring your children into your mess. That's all I'm saying, because it's not fair to them, okay? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.